very good Monday evening to you, and thanks so much for joining us tonight at 6:30. And boy, it sure was a hot and humid one across most of northern Michigan. Some folks seeing temperatures in the 90s to start our work week, but sounds like if you're not a big fan of these hot temperatures, some cooler weather is on the way, right, Joe?
Yeah, we're in our last few days here of July, and we're going to end it looks like on a pretty nice note. The humidity will drop off, but we're not going to get cold or anything like that. It'll be just really comfortable coming up because West Branch today, it felt like 100 degrees this afternoon. So it was a warm start to the work week. We have that to look at. And also, this is not necessarily a good thing, of course, but there is more smoke coming in too. So we'll see that. Skies might look a little more white this week. We'll talk about that and what to expect for the rest of the week and chances for rain. All that, Maya, a little later.
All right. Thanks so much, Joe. Let's start off with our top story of the
While we're on the record, in case number 25-5222, FY, you're appearing for arraignment purposes this afternoon.
Bradford Gilly, the man that deputies say stabbed 11 people and left a community reeling, goes before a judge today, pleading not guilty to charges of terrorism and 11 counts of assault with intent to murder. The 42-year-old, dressed in a blue padded vest, as you can see here, he appeared via video camera from jail. During the arraignment, Gilly had several outbursts and at one point was actually muted by the judge. When it came to bond, Grand Traverse prosecutor asked the judge to consider Gilly's past record and the alleged crime itself.
It also looked at the seriousness of the offense. Clearly, this is one of the most serious crimes that someone can commit in the state of Michigan, and it has a huge impact on public safety.
Gilly's bond was set at $100,000 cash surety, and he will be back in court in August. And we're also learning more about Bradford Gilly and what exactly he was doing leading up to Saturday's events. Our Allie Baxter spoke with his older brother, Shane, today. He says that he was at the beach when people started sending him photos of what turned out to be his brother, Bradford, being arrested. Our Allie has the entire conversation.
But there is a backstory to this, and it's put our family through hell.
The man you see here being loaded into a sheriff deputy's car is 42-year-old Bradford Gilly, the man accused of stabbing 11 people at Walmart Saturday.
We knew this was coming, but not in this form.
But how did Gilly get here? As more information comes out about the mental health issues Gilly was fighting, his brother, Shane, sheds light on a battle that's been lifelong, starting with what Shane says was a bad reaction to a combination of drugs that put him in a, quote, permanent trip when he was 15.
We were staying in the Ronald McDonald house down in Grand Rapids while he was being evaluated, and he never came out of it.
Shane says his family was overwhelmed for the next 28 years trying to find long-term placement for his brother in a mental health facility.
And there's nothing available, and there has been nothing available. There's only temporary spots for him, and he would get into a temporary spot, get medicated for a little bit, and start doing really good, showed good signs to the doctors, and they said, well, we have no reason to hold him. He's doing good.
Gilly's vagabond tendencies mean the family was getting calls from law enforcement all across the country.
We're trying to track him down. We got police looking for him for wellness checks. We'll get calls in the middle of the night from the police in Pennsylvania that he's running down the highway naked.
In 2016, according to Emmett County Circuit Court records, Gilly believed someone was buried alive at Greenwood Cemetery in Petoskey, so he decided to dig up the grave. Several other headstones were shoved over in the same area. Those charges were dismissed and allowed him to plead not guilty due to insanity.
After 28 years of witnessing his ups and downs and his disconnection to reality, and talking about whether it be alien abductions or, chickens being spayed or neutered or something like that, like, what are you talking about, man? This is a true insanity case.
Before Saturday's mass stabbing incident in Grand Traverse County, 10 days ago, according to Mackinac City Police, Gilly argued with an employee at Mackinac Family Market and was asked to leave the store. An employee told police Gilly pulled a knife out of his pocket when he was outside, but did not threaten anyone. And in Petoskey on July 24th, the Department of Public Safety officers talked to him about loitering. They noted, based on concerns about his welfare, they petitioned Emmett County Probate Court for an order to place him in protective custody.
this has just gone on so far and so long that like I said, you can't throw any more flags. You can't wave any more signals. You can't make any more smoke signals. Like, there's been fire here for so long.
Shane had this message to share on behalf of his family to those affected by his brother's alleged action Saturday.
To the families that have all been involved and the witnesses and everything, again, a big apology from my heart. All I can say is we've tried to get this under wraps for a very, very long time, and we've just been ignored.
All right, and Allie is joining us now from our content center with more on her conversation with Shane. And Allie, I think, this provides a very important perspective, because until you actually sat down with his brother Shane and heard from him, there was speculation that, mental health issues could have played a role. We heard Grand Traverse County Sheriff yesterday during a news conference, when asked if there were any mental health issues, he assumed with a situation like this, there is bound to be some sort of past issues when it comes to mental health. But now, after your conversation with Shane, we have a better insight into just exactly what that looks like.
Yeah, and not just mental health issues over the last couple years or 5 years. We're talking 28 years of mental health issues that, Shane tells me were so severe that it just completely overwhelmed the family.
And then not only is there a past with mental health issues, but your story also touched on his criminal record and a past in multiple different counties.
Yeah, a little bit all over Michigan, it seems, in a few different counties. It just seems like he was kind of a vagabond personality. It was something that I actually asked his brother about, and he said, he had the tendency to just hop on a bus and go travel wherever. We know he has a couple different criminal cases that have popped up in Florida. Like his brother said, state police once called them from Pennsylvania to say that he was running along the side of the highway naked. He mentioned another time where they were in touch with people in Atlanta, Georgia, and trying just to keep up with his whereabouts was honestly a full-time job.
And we could definitely tell what Bradford's brother Shane was feeling. We could tell the emotions in your interview with him, but I guess, how would you describe his reaction when he first found out the news about the stabbing incident at Walmart on Saturday?
I mean, he was telling me that him and his mother, they're just devastated by this news. He said he was actually on the beach with his dog when people started sending him photos, because we know yesterday a lot of video, a lot of photos started coming out that were a little bit more high definition of who is the suspect, who went in, allegedly stabbed all these people at Walmart. And he said that's when people started sending him those pictures saying, hey, I think this is your brother. And he said, I had heard about the stabbing incident the night before. And I remember thinking to myself, man, like someone has to get their act together. Like, kind of like, what is this world coming to? He's like, I never thought that person would be my brother, despite the mental health issues that he was going through. We just never thought it would take this kind of form.
Sure. Is there anything else that Shane told you about what his relationship was like with Bradford, or just any more insight into Bradford's history?
Yeah, so he said, obviously, this has been a very complicated and difficult journey for the Gilley family the last 28 years since Bradford has started having a lot of these mental health issues. He said this situation brings up a lot of complicated emotions for him. He says, obviously, he has love for his younger brother, but he said, despite the mental health issues, it just doesn't excuse what happened and what was going on. He did tell me when he gets some of his thoughts together, he does plan on sending a letter to Bradford in jail. And he's like, I don't really even know if he's in the right headspace to process any of my words, but for my sake, I need to get some of these words off my chest and be able to communicate with him in some way.
And do you know, were the brothers communicating before this happened? Were they still in touch with each other, or what their relationship was like leading up to this?
He said he saw him about a month ago, and he did mention to me that sometimes he would, be driving along the road, and all of a sudden he looks off to the side and he sees his brother walking with a briefcase and not really having like a destination in mind. And a lot of eyewitness accounts that we have from that stabbing incident on Saturday mentioned that he had a backpack with him. And that is exactly how his brother saw him a month ago. He said, I saw him, up here in northern Michigan. I saw him walking around with this backpack. And I told him, hey, why don't you come stop by the house? Why we have some conversation for a little bit. Their father passed away a few years ago, and he had just built a new memorial for their father to honor him. And he said, I'd love for you to come and see like what I've done for Dad. I'd love for you to come and see that. And he said, you could just tell like he wasn't all there and just said, no, like I don't want to do that. So that was unfortunately the last time he saw him.
And we know that Bradford Gilly is from Sheboygan County. Did your conversation with Shane give you any insight of maybe why he was up here in Grand Traverse County this weekend?
Mostly just because he says, he just tends to hop on buses and go different places. So we kind of did a little recap just of where Bradford had gone just in the last 10 days, even before he was in Grand Traverse County. We know he was in Mackinac City. We know he was also in the Petoskey area a few days before. So he says he just kind of tended to hop on a bus and go different places. And it was just too hard to keep track of him and know exactly why he decided to come all the way to Traverse City.
Sure. Is there anything else with your conversation with Shane that we haven't talked about yet that you think is worth mentioning?
I think I would say that he really genuinely wants to get across, how sorry, not just him, but the rest of the Gilly family. He said, we just want to extend our condolences to all the victims in this situation. And from the bottom of our hearts, we are so devastated by this. And we are just so sorry. This is something that they said they've really been kind of raising the flag on and sounding the alarm. They said for the last 28 years, really, about some of the mental health issues that Bradford was encountering. They've tried to get him, psychiatric help so many times. And a lot of times we just don't have the resources here in Northern Michigan to deal with individuals who are experiencing a mental health crisis like that. So they said, from the bottom of our hearts, we are so sorry. And this is something we've tried to get a hold on for years. And we do feel like we've been ignored in our efforts.
Allie, thank you so much for joining us on Unscripted and going into a little more detail on your conversation with Bradford Gilly's brother, Shane, and just kind of what led up to the tragic incident on Saturday at the Walmart in Traverse City. And I'm sure most of you folks watching right now, you have seen video from outside of the Walmart of a couple of just random citizens, bystanders, who were pushing for Bradford Gilly to, not hurt anyone. They were confronting him, trying to get him to drop the weapon. Well, coming up tonight in World News and tomorrow on Good Morning America is an interview with Derek Perry. That is a man who held a gun on the Walmart stabbing suspect. Again, that was Bradford Gilly.
I didn't think of anything other than trying to get him away from people and get him isolated and get him to put the knife down and just to kind of focus.
And again, you can see more of that full interview with Perry, a married father of 3 and former U.S. Marine, on World News tonight, right after Unscripted. And of course, he wasn't the only one who was involved in trying to contain Gilly before police arrived on Saturday afternoon. Other community members sprang into action as well to confront him in the parking lot before law enforcement arrived. Matthew Pulikowski and Chris O'Brien, brothers-in-law from Grand Rapids area, were on vacation in Traverse City on Saturday. They say they were checking out and leaving the store when a Walmart employee screamed that someone had a knife. Matthew says he saw the suspect, Gilly, stab multiple people. That's when Matthew grabbed a grocery cart and hit Gilly with it. He yelled at Gilly to drop the blade and says Gilly eventually did. And that's when Matthew picked up the knife and more people jumped in to stop Gilly.
What he said to me didn't, I didn't care. I just was trying to stop the whole situation because I knew, I don't know why, just instinct. I just went after him and I wanted the whole situation to stop. I wasn't going to let him go. I knew that. He wasn't going to get away from me.
And Matthew said during the whole situation, he didn't pay attention to what Gilly was saying, but he stayed to help and talk to deputies after they arrived. Well, coming up tonight on UpNorthLive News at 11, you'll hear more from the people who sprang into action to help others on Saturday. And we do know that 11 people were injured due to that mass stabbing incident. We do have an update on the status of those 11 patients hospitalized at Munson. The 11 victims, they range in age from 29 to 84 as of this morning, according to hospital officials. One patient listed in serious condition, 5 in fair condition, 2 patients upgraded to good condition, 2 others who were treated and transferred, and 1 patient who was treated and released. And if you do know anyone who may be struggling, there are resources out there. Really quick, I just want to put up this full page to show you those resources. It includes community counseling, offering free counseling to anyone affected by the incident at Northwestern Michigan College's Innovation Center. They'll be open through Wednesday from 10 a.m. until 7 p.m. And Grand Traverse Mental Health Crisis and Access Center offers 24-hour counseling. On your screen now is also the Munson Healthcare Crisis Hotline number, and the National Suicide and Crisis Hotline is 988. We know a lot of people were impacted by this incident, so don't hesitate to reach out for help. We are going to take a quick commercial break right now, but Joe will have much more on your weather forecast straight ahead.
I'm Jada Johnson from Big Boys TV, and the Fish and Game Report is sponsored by Johnson's Propane.
A hot and humid start to our work week. For more on that, let's turn things over to Chief Meteorologist Joe Charlevoix. Joe, how is the rest of the work week looking?
Really not bad. I mean, today was pretty warm in some spots. We had several areas in the 90s today, but we're going to see the temperature dropping off as we kind of wind down the month, and looks pretty good coming up here, Maya, as well. Our three big things, we have a couple showers, maybe an isolated thunderstorm in the forecast tomorrow, along a cold front passing through. No severe weather expected. And then, as we just kind of alluded to, we have a lengthy, quiet, and dry stretch upcoming, lower humidity, comfortable temperatures. That'll kick in not so much tomorrow, but especially Wednesday through the rest of the work week, probably into next weekend. And then the, I guess, not good thing is we have another round of wildfire smoke set to arrive at times this week across parts of northern Michigan. We'll dive into that in a moment. We do have a heat advisory for all the orange shaded areas down here. So basically kind of along US 10, this region. That's in effect until 9 o'clock tonight. We've had a warm day. Let's go to Houghton Lake right now, where it's 88. It feels like 90 degrees. That's a live look there in Roscommon County. Earlier, Houghton Lake had a 96 degree feels like temperature when you factor in the humidity. So it was a warm one. Here are the current temperatures now as of, we're inching in on 7 o'clock here soon. 92 at Mount Pleasant, Big Rapids 89, West Branch 88, Mayo is still at 90, and look at Mount Pleasant right now. Temperature there currently at 93. Now, there is a front that will drop in. There's some cooler weather to our north up in Canada. It's also a lot less humid, and that is going to drop in here and push some of the warm weather we have out of the area. Meanwhile, off to our west, a stormy night tonight out in the Dakotas. We have a severe thunderstorm watch there. They're looking at some wind damage potential where you see that reddish shading area. We're not going to deal with that, however, here, but we may tomorrow see a couple showers or isolated thunderstorms. There's tomorrow morning, chance for a little bit of rain working through here. No severe weather expected. And then that should depart Tuesday night. And then Wednesday, any rain should be pretty much downstate and out of here. Here's a look at the smoke forecast. There is more up in Canada, north of Lake Superior. And a north wind is going to push some of this back into northern Michigan right there. So another dumping of that smoke coming in here, it looks like, especially toward midweek. And here's a look at the extended forecast. It actually is very quiet, very comfortable. Notice temperatures generally in the 70s, at least through Saturday. Some smoke, some haze in the sky. But after tomorrow, we're looking at a dry stretch of weather the rest of the week through next weekend. I know it's Monday evening, but next weekend, Amaya, if you have plans, looks pretty good.
Looking forward to it, Joe. Thanks so much for that. We're going to take a quick break, but coming up next, we will check in with sports director Harrison Beebe. He will have a recap for you of the AuSable River Canoe Marathon over the weekend. Stay with us. Well, in case you missed it, the AuSable River Canoe Marathon was held over the weekend, and some people from northern Michigan came home with first place this year. For more on that, Let's turn things over to Sports Director Harrison Beebe live in the Content Center. Harrison.
Yeah, Maya, it's not too often that guys from in-state win the event, especially two of them in the same boat, and especially two of them from northern Michigan. Travis Milkenberg is from Grayling. Well, he's lived in Grayling the past few years. Weston Willoughby is actually from Grayling. He lives in Traverse City now, but they were the tandem in the boat on Saturday into Sunday to win the big race. We caught up with Travis earlier today to ask about the fun weekend.
We were definitely hoping to be in the mix, but it was just a really competitive field this year. So they didn't want to set a solid expectation, just kind of do our best race and see how it shook out. It was just really hard to know going into it because there's 5 or 6 teams that potentially could win. Weston has a lot of experience, and probably the biggest thing that he kind of passed along to me was just never really giving up. It's just such a long race, and a lot can happen.
And what did it feel like to cross that finish line in Oscoda?
It was completely surreal. It was really nice to the 5 minutes before the finish line that Weston and I could kind of soak it in and talk a little bit with each other because we kind of knew that we had it at that point. But yeah, it was surreal to see everyone there and then all family and friends at the finish line and be able to share that moment with them. It was really special.
Bringing the title back to Michigan, how good did that make both you guys feel?
Yeah, that was really exciting. And Weston grew up in Grayling and went to high school and everything here and still has a lot of family in Grayling, which made it really special.
Where do you guys go from here? Have you already started talking about next year? Or are you going to let this one soak in a little before?
It still definitely hasn't sunk in quite yet, but yeah, not sure about next year, but definitely planning on racing one way or another. Best race there is.
All right, so Maya, I put our names down, you and me next year. We're going to beat them. We're going to take that title. What do you say?
Heck yeah, let's do it. The race is shortened next year to just 5 miles, so right?
Yeah, probably not. So if you want to bail out now, I understand.
We better start training, Harrison. A lot of work to get to 120 miles.
Overnight.
Overnight.
Yeah.
We'll work on it. We'll see.
Maybe.
All right, Harrison, thanks so much for joining us. We are going to take another quick break, but we will be right back in just a few minutes.
Salon services are furnished by Epiphany Advanced Academy in East Acme.
No question of the day today, so that will do it for us here on Up North Live Unscripted at 6:30. As always, thanks so much for joining us. We'll see you back here at 11 o'clock tonight.